Good morning, everyone. I see a lot of phones and not showing faces, which is okay, but we'd love to see your beautiful faces this morning. This is a time where if you want to say hi and, shout out to your fellow mates that have missed you, like Valeska. You guys are all muted. I hope you know that. Is everybody supposed to be muted? You can unmute and say hi.
Hello. It's nice to be back.
Good morning, Carlos.
Morning, everyone.
Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I'm really excited because I'm going to call you out, but I see Heather Jones on here and Lori and Luann, Rachel. It's exciting to see our TTMA peoples joining.
Hello, my love. It's Lulu.
Hi, Lulu.
How are ya?
Lou, aka Sarah McCann with the invite, right?
Right? That was so random. It was bizarre, but anyway. So.
Good morning, Jenna.
Good morning. So nice to put a face to the name, Dan.
Yes, thank you for making the time today. We're very excited to hear from both you and Lisa.
And I love your hat, Jenna.
I wanted to have fun with it today. I haven't worn fedoras in a while because we don't meet in person anymore.
Cute.
Thanks.
Awesome. If you guys want to say hi, board members, guests, attendees, this is your time to say hi before we get started. There's Heather. I was just thinking about you the other day, like,
oh yeah,
meaning to check in and see
I know.
where you're at these days, but we can do that offline.
Absolutely. Good to see you.
You too. Hey, Dee.
Hello. Heather, your hair's gotten long.
I know without without going to the salon, that's what happens. You just don't get your hair cut.
No, it looks great. I love it.
Thank you. I love your color.
Crazy, right?
I love it. It's great.
Thank you.
Good for you.
So good. It looks so good.
Thank you.
Hi, Rachel. I love your background.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thanks for joining. If you're just popping in, this is a time if you guys want to say hi, you guys can do that. We'll probably get started in the next few minutes. Hi, Wendy. I'm like, I can't tell if you're really in your backyard with a dog or if that's just
I know everyone expects them to run, no, that's a photograph. They're not moving. They're looking at whatever squirrel seems to have been in the corner there. But everybody asks me that. It's like, are those dogs going to move? How do you get them to stand so still?
It's like Diana's post she put up on Facebook yesterday. It was a picture of getting prepared for a Zoom and it's the cat like strapped on the wall.
Yes. I've seen that one. It's hysterical. I've seen more Zoom meetings where the cat walks across the keyboard and in the screen, and it's hysterical. People fighting the cat to get it down and it gets right back up.
It is what it is, right? We're only human. Everybody who got on the call earlier from our board, I said, I have my daughter and my dogs locked up in a room, but if they come out, I am real and I am working from home.
Exactly. Or God forbid the Amazon man delivers in the middle of something. It sets off quite a howl at my house.
Right. Hi, Mariela.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Mariela. Hola, hola.
Hola.
¿Cómo están?
Bien.
Hablando español. That's very good.
I have like the vocabulary of a 3-year-old in Spanish. It works.
Okay, that's good.
Hi,
Luann
Lauren.
here. Hey, Luann. Ginger.
I know, and Aaron.
Hello, hello. Hi.
You're not on camera.
No, well, I'm one of those that has a cat that he knows when I'm going onto a video conference and he will stand right in my face. So I'm covered in cat hair right now and he's like crawling everywhere. So yeah, I'm scaring you all.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, well, thank you guys. I think we're gonna get started just in the essence of time and, respecting that everybody carved out this time. So I guess Misha will take it away. Of course, I have to set my screen so I can read my notes. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another virtual TTMA event. If you haven't muted yourself, please mute yourself now. I know I said this last month, but it's hard to believe that we are now 8 months in, 5 virtual events later, lots of patience, hard work, strength, and still pushing forward. It's truly been such a roller coaster ride here in California and in the travel industry. Last month, California seemed to be in a better place with only 16 counties in the purple tier. And look what can happen in just a month. As most of us know this week, Governor Newsom announced that 40 counties are moving backward in the tier system, rolling back reopening plans statewide. 41 out of California's 58 counties are now in the state's most restrictive purple tier. At this point, it is our personal and professional responsibility to stand together and show our commitment to health and safety. I will continue to say this each month. We are all in this together, and we want you to know that TTMA will continue to support any of our members to the best ability we can. Please don't hesitate to reach out anytime. We are all human here. And as we can't hug you in person, we like to send out a lot of love and support. So I wanted to add this picture of me because I feel like I always have this like model picture of me where it took a lot of work to look that good. And the picture below is actually me last month finishing my first ever triathlon, which is something that I decided to do during this pandemic. It was only like 15 athletes and it was awesome. So felt like throwing that up today just to, spice it up a little bit. Thank you to all of our members and guests for joining us today. Before we get started today, please make sure to set your Zoom to presenter speaker view during most of the presentation when the presenters are speaking. And I also suggest grabbing a notebook or piece of paper and a pencil or pen, as today's event will be interactive. It's going to be very, very different. And trust me, I think you'll all walk away really enjoying this. As we have been for the last couple of virtual events, we will utilize the chat feature on Zoom to connect with each other right now. As it is a tradition, we want to start with introductions. So please feel free to use the chat to say hello to your colleagues, introduce yourself, and share any message that you'd like for the next few minutes. If you are a guest of TTMA or this is your first TTMA event, please let us know as well. And I'll stop chatting. I wish I had some great music to play for you guys, but feel free to chat away. I feel like the chats are happening so much slower today than they usually are. Either people have a lot to think about or are just busy, which I respect both of those. It's great to see some faces that we haven't seen in a while. So thank you guys for joining if you haven't joined in a while. Oh, I see Leah's on here. Yay. It's crazy to look at this picture. This picture was our awards luncheon 2 years ago. Remember those days we used to be in a room and smiling and talking close. You appreciating the little things, right? Love it. We have a first TTMAer in here. Yay. All right. Thank you guys. Before we start today's special program, I'd like to acknowledge our TTMA board. Our executive committee members, Kevin Lorton, past president, Diana Elmore, vice president, Carlos Montenegro, co-treasurer, Jerry Harris, co-treasurer, and Lauren Schlau, secretary, as well as all of our other board members and our amazing TTMA administrator, Misha Boxer. Thank you guys always for all your hard work and support during these times. And now for our program. TTMA is so excited to bring you a very different program from our last 4 virtual events. We thought, we've brought you a lot of data heavy events, and we needed something that was a little different. As we are nearing the end of 2020, a difficult year for all of us, we recognize that some of our members and supporters have unfortunately lost their jobs, are potentially forced to step back and think about their next steps, or who may just need a shift to positive thinking. The journey of self-discovery and transformation is available for those of us who are willing to investigate ourselves and turn up the volume on our curiosity. Our first presenter, Leisa Reid, is a speaker and trainer with Productive Learning, a personal development company that fosters the powerful journey of self-discovery. She is an author, speaker, trainer, video talk show host, a mom, a wife, and a lover of live concerts. In her presentation, Leisa will guide us through an exercise designed to open up new possibilities and stimulate new actions you can apply immediately to your current goal. Let's give a warm welcome to Leisa.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate all the work that you and Dan and Misha put together for us to be here today. So I appreciate that. Today, we are going to really dive in. I'm going to invite you to dive in and listen with big ears to your own thoughts and desires. And we're going to go through a couple of processes. So if you have already gotten your pen and paper, you're one step ahead. If you haven't, go ahead and take just this moment to make sure you have that, because we're going to go through a process where you'll be writing down. I'm actually going to do it alongside you. So I'm getting my paper and turning it over. We're going to go through a process that you can then utilize again and again for your own growth. And if Misha, could you advance the slide for me? Thanks. So and you can go through the 3 bullets here. We're going to, like I mentioned, go through 3 exercises, and they're going to build on top of each other. And through this whole process, you are going to be focusing on you. So that's why it's a little bit different than maybe me giving you a bunch of information or data or lessons. It's really a facilitation of your own thinking so that you can access whatever is going to be helpful for you moving forward, whether it's through this next month, through the end of the year, through the following year. It really depends on what you'd like to focus on. I also have a course that I want to give everybody access to. It's a completely free course, so that if you're enjoying this type of work and investigating your thinking and you're like, gosh, I really want to give some attention to my vision, and what better time to do it than now, then you'll have that access as well. So Misha, could you go ahead to the next slide? Thanks. Oh, this is some information about me. I have some degrees, got some experience under my belt, but really the most important part of this is that I'm a product of the work that I'm teaching you today. I actually started as a client back over 10 years ago at Productive Learning when I was personally going through my own challenges, and I saw immediate results, like massive, massive results, both personally and professionally and financially in all aspects of my life, and was able to become a better mom, a better spouse, a better business person, and just have a more relaxed experience of being who I am. Can anybody else relate to having just everything else may seem fine on the outside, but inside you feel a little overwhelmed or anxious, or you notice that you're worrying? I hear a lot of times people have a hard time going to sleep, or they wake up in the middle of the night and can't get back to sleep, or just your mind's racing as soon as you open your eyes in the morning. And I know that this year of all years, my goodness, has really stimulated that for a lot of us, right? We don't really like change. And we really don't like change when it's not better, right? Like, it's like, wait a second, change and it's worse? No, we don't like that. So we've been really challenged and tasked. And so that's why I'm excited to talk with you today, because there's some things that you can do that are in your hands. When it feels like everything's out of control, we want to feel like, what can I control? Like, okay, I can't fix the pandemic. I can't bring back an industry that's not viable right now, but I can focus on what's going on internally for me. A little bit about productive learning. We have been around for 28 years. Up until March, we always did everything in person. So we too, as an industry, have really shifted and had to pivot, change, all those things. We have a new normal, just like all of us are having this new normal right now. But one of the, again, looking at the, making lemonade out of lemons, we created this presentation, which we didn't have before. We created the class that I can give you for free. We didn't have that before. So there's all these really cool things that were born out of this experience. Go ahead to the next slide, Misha. We're going to get into the program. I will say, sometimes people think that when it comes to shifting your life or changing or your mindset or awareness or whatever, that there's like this answer outside of you. And at Productive Learning, we believe you have the answer. So I don't have the answers. if you were wondering, was I going to give you the key to, the key to life? No. But I do believe that you have the answer. You have the best answer for you within you. So what we're going to do right now is actually start to access some of those answers. Next slide, please, Misha. So what I'm going to have, this is a little preview of the class that I'm going to give you, New Thinking for New Action. So we'll talk more about that in a moment. Go ahead to the next slide. Thanks. Okay, so what I want you to do right now is just take a moment. I'm assuming you're not driving, and close your eyes. And just, let's all get here now together. I'm closing my eyes too. And I want you to think about a problem that you are currently trying to get resolved. Could be an obstacle. It could be a goal that you haven't achieved yet. But something you've been working on and you just haven't had those finalized results yet. This can be personal, it can be professional, it can be about a relationship, it can be about yourself, whatever you want to use it for. All right. And I'm going to assume at this point, everybody has something. You can go ahead and open your eyes when you're ready. And we are going to spend the next minutes together looking at this problem from different perspectives. Okay, so go ahead and go to the next slide, please. I want you to write down the problem on your paper. Again, we're not writing a novel here, just like the chapter title or the book title. You know what it is. You don't need to share that. Okay, you're just going to jot that down. That's like the title of your page. And then I want you to write under there 3 things that you have done so far to solve the problem. Because I am imagining if it's a problem that comes up for you, you've probably already done some things to tackle it, right? It's not like you just had a brand new problem this morning. Okay, so just take a moment and just jot those 3 things down. Again, get a short jot. So I'm going to write mine. All right. When you're done with that, usually I'm just going to take a inventory here. I see some people look like they're still writing and some people look like they're done. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you're done in the perfect. Thank you, Jenna, Wendy. Excellent. Great. It can be a real thumb or a faux thumb, whichever, whatever your fancy. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to move on. Looks like a lot of us have that complete so far. So now what I want you to think about is, who's your favorite superhero? And it could be a fictional character, or actually, could you go back, Misha, please? Thanks. It could be a fictional character, may or may not be a superhero, But for me, I like to think of Wonder Woman is my personal superhero. So if you could put in the chat, who is your favorite superhero? Go ahead and just put that in there. Or fictional character, maybe a character from a movie or from a book or a TV show. I'm going to put mine as Wonder Woman. Yes. 2 votes for Wonder Woman. Oh yeah, now I'm wondering if there's a space. Oh, my mom. That's great. Okay. Wonder Woman. Michelle Obama. Wheel of Time. I do not know who that is. I'm gonna have to look at that up. Sarah Blakely. Cool. Spider-Man. Wonder Woman. My daughter. Excellent. And I want you to think about Batman. You should always be yourself unless you can be Batman. All right. Superman. Okay. And if you have a real person, I want you to say that because we're going to do another exercise. Try to think of a fictional character, just someone that you admire. It could be from a long time ago, from your childhood. It could be anybody. So go ahead and just jot that name down on your paper. I'm writing Wonder Woman right here. Carmen Sandiego. Yeah. She travels everywhere. And now, Misha, you can go ahead and click the slide. What we're going to do is I want you to actually imagine you solving your problem as if you're the superhero. Because there's something about that character that is appealing to you. For me, when I think of Wonder Woman and the latest movie that had come out, I remember, I mean, I've always been a fan of Wonder Woman, but particularly there was a scene where she rose above everybody and everyone was scared. They thought they were this insurmountable task and she went for it. And she didn't know if she was going to win or lose or die or whatever, you save everybody, but she had the courage to move forward anyway. So that like gives me chills. So I think about that is what I love about Wonder Woman, that characteristic. So think about what is that thing that you love about your superhero? And then how would they tackle your problem? And just take a moment and now put 3 solutions that you've come up with to solve your problem as if you were the superhero. So how would Batman solve your problem? How would Carmen Sandiego solve the problem, or Captain Marvel, or any of the other superheroes that were on the screen? Just take a moment. Again, this is helping you solve your problem. So anything you come up with is probably going to be pretty helpful. Even if it seems like a little out there, you're like, well, I don't know, that's a little crazy. Just go with it. This is where you're going to let your mind open up using that imagination, tapping into something that you haven't maybe thought of before. Eat ice cream. First eats ice cream. Okay. Very cool. All right. And we'll have a little bit of time towards the end if anyone wants to share their whole, as we go through this exercise, what you came up with. Typically, it'd be really cool, you know, if we were in a little bit different scenario, sometimes we'll be able to have people share and we can find some tie-ins and some things that are connected that you maybe wouldn't have noticed before. So this is really, really valuable information. Remember, you have the answers within you. Okay. So now, Misha, go ahead and do the next one. Now, here's where I want you to do, we're going to do a similar thing, except for now you're going to choose somebody that you look up to or admire. This could be an actual real person. I saw like a mom, my daughter, maybe a mentor, a coach, a teacher, a parent, somebody that just, I saw Michelle Obama on the list. So she's like a real person, like, oh, what is it about that person that you admire? Like what draws you to that person? So go ahead and just jot that person's name in the chat, or who they were to you. Maybe it's like, oh, it was my mentor from college, or a coach I had or a boss, you don't have to put their name. Yeah, my mom. Let's put my mom. For me, I'll share mine and then just write that person's name or that title of them on your paper. Eleanor Roosevelt, wonderful. Mentor, grandfather. Yeah, a lot of times we had people in our lives who really made a big difference, right? Mentor, my dad. Oh, I love sociology classes. I had a lot of great teachers in that. Yes. Oh, thank you. Oh, oh, Misha, your mentor's on the call. How exciting. Oh, that's beautiful. Dan says his best friend. Yes, sometimes our friends are the people we admire the most, right? Okay, so now go ahead and Misha, go to the next, or click it. We're going to do the same type of exercise, but now you're going to solve your problem, the original problem that you had stated, as this person that you admire, and be thinking of the qualities about that person that really come to life for you. And again, 3 or 4 solutions. What would they do? And I'm playing along here too, so I'm going to write mine as well. All right, and then give me a quick thumbs up if you are done. Need a little more time. Misha's done. Heather's done. Jenna's done. Cool. Charles is done. Love it. Lauren, everybody's done. Excellent. All right. You can always go back to this afterwards. It's not like you can't add to this list more. So Misha, go ahead and click the slide, please. So now you have your paper and it has your problem at the top, and then you have the solutions that you did. So go ahead and click for me, please. You solved the problem a certain way, right? Before, like all these different things that you've done. And then click it, please. Then you have your superhero solutions. Okay. Then you have your personal hero solutions. Excellent. So you actually have added some additional solutions, but notice that it all came from within you. So this is why I really enjoy this type of exercise, because you can access this anytime you want. You can access different superheroes or different people that you admire, or one or the other. But what happens is that, does anyone else have different solutions than the one that you came up with in the beginning? Did your superhero self or your personal hero self come up with other solutions that you didn't have before? Yeah. Yes, yes, totally. Yes. Diana's like, totally. I know mine did. One of the ones that I found, yes, Jenna's like, yes, yes, yes. One of the ones I find for me is sometimes I forget that I can ask for help. I just think I have to do it all on my own. Can anyone else relate to that? Where it's like, oh, there's actually people around me who could support me in this, but I didn't actually ask for help. So that's one that I like to keep top of mind, because what happens, and go ahead to the next slide, Misha. What happens is that I want you to notice like how quickly it was to like, we've only been doing this for like 10 minutes. This is pretty quick. And the interesting part is that we don't necessarily think of these other solutions easily and regularly. That's because we're hardwired in another way to think in the original way, where we solve the problem on our own before. That's what we would refer to like a productive learning as your default thinking. Like that's kind of your hardwired thinking. But when we start to ask questions and open up perspectives and get curious, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, there's actually all these other open possibilities. So the key is starting to see what is it within you that's keeping you, what thoughts are within you that are keeping you from your, solving your problem or different results, and what's keeping you in that same situation. Remember, we talked about at the beginning of our feelings, feeling anxious or overwhelmed or having a hard time sleeping, those things. We do a lot of actions that keep us in an emotional state that's less than desirable. But without consciousness or awareness, kind of tapping into that, we can live the rest of our lives in that habitual state. So the idea is that, how do I increase my awareness around what's going on within me? How do I want to move forward more intentionally? Go ahead to the next slide, please. And it's really about, I don't know if anyone else can relate to this. Do you know that you have past thinking that's not helpful for you? Sure, right? I think we all have that. And sometimes it's present thinking too. So to create new thinking, there's so many sayings about thinking, like what you think about, you bring about, and you got to believe it to achieve it, right? Has anyone heard those kind of phrases? I know I have. And that sounds super simple. It rhymes. It sounds really clever. But a lot of us don't actually know how to do that. Like, well, if I've already been thinking this way my whole life, how would I even start to shift and change that? And that's largely what we've been doing at Productive Learning for almost 30 years, is like this exercise of catching that thinking when it's not serving you, and knowing enough about yourself and how you move and what your system's all about, so that you can put some new thinking in there when it's appropriate. Go ahead to the next slide, Misha, because this is what I want to share with you. You get to dive a little deeper in this course. It's a free course. Totally up to you if you'd like to take it, and I'll give you a link. We'll put a link in the chat for you to access this right away. But it's 5 modules, and I even think there's a bonus module in there. So Misha, can you go ahead to the next one? The first step is really that you are here moment. Oh, Diana says, I believe you can control your feelings by changing your thinking. Yes. And so it's like the thinking and the feeling, to Diana's point, are connected, right? So when we start to be able to pull that apart, and you're like, oh, you might notice that you're feeling a certain way. So then you can go, well, what am I thinking that's causing that feeling? What story am I telling, or what am I believing that's not true? And how can I unpack that? It's so powerful. So this first step is like, where am I and where do I want to go? What's the gap? Okay, next slide. Then it's about creating a compelling vision. We say compelling vision. This isn't just a vision. This is literally, when I say compelling vision, it needs to be emotionally compelling, because to Diana's point, the thinking and the feeling are connected. Your actions are actually fueled by your feelings. So if you're not even aware of what you're feeling, it makes it challenging to shift into new actions. So a compelling vision is something that's very exciting even to you. If it's not exciting to you, it's hard to be exciting to anybody else, right? So you get yourself that compelling new vision. Then step 3, you get to then now create a new action list, but it's based on that vision. It's based on, here's where I am and here's where I want to go. Here's my vision of why I would be willing to even change this thinking or change whatever. And then you could set those action items up in place. And then the 4th thing, now we get a little, what we call like, put that scuba mask on, because you're going to get deeper. So far it's like, okay, I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. But then we want to encourage you to dive deeper into the thinking, which connects right into what Diana was saying, is how do you know what you were thinking that could, what past thinking could actually get in the way of those actions? And you could apply that here too. Like, we've got some new solutions, but addressing that past thinking, we don't want to underestimate the power of your past thinking. And so you want to investigate that. And then, really like how your thoughts become beliefs. And then the 5th step is look at your results. What did you come up with? What changed? What was different? Give yourself an evaluation step. And so you can access all of this right here. I think there's a site on the next slide. Literally just go to productivelearning.com/gift. And that is our gift to you. You can take it at your own pace. And if you have any questions, I put my information in the chat. If you'd like to, thank you, Misha. If you'd like to connect on LinkedIn, I always welcome that. And it was just my absolute pleasure to be with you today. I know that it is, for some of us, the changes have been more significant than others, and we've had to adapt. But this is one way that you can take a stand and kind of take charge of your own internal experience of whatever is to come. So thank you very much, Sarah and Misha. And I think we're going to go on to our, thank you, Diana. I think we're going to go to our next amazing presenter who is pretty incredible. So I'm going to turn that back over to Sarah.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And we'll have some time for Q&A at the end with both presenters. So if you have questions, definitely write them down. That was awesome. I know it was short and brief, but awesome. So thank you. Up next, we have executive coach Jenna Dillon, who I actually had the pleasure of meeting on another virtual mixer. So really excited about bringing her here to TTMA. She is committed to working with high-performing individuals and companies who are up to exploring what they're capable of achieving within their careers, company culture, and leadership. Jenna has been trained in several professional development programs, some that I have a really hard time pronouncing, in phenomenology, ontological coaching via transformational coaching, neuroscience, neuroplasticity, psychology, and sociology. She became the highest performing apprentice in her executive coaching training program and joined in an elite executive coaching firm soon after. Within a matter of years, she became a top performing coach in the firm. Now, with her own executive coaching practice, she found EPIC, an executive coaching institute, where she blends her many hats as a dynamic educator, coach, connector, and resource, working with various different clients, ranging from business owners to doctors to mortgage bankers and more. Let's give a warm welcome to Jenna.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm so excited to be here, and just to pull the curtain back and let you all know, Lisa and I, this is our first chance to actually present together. And so we took it upon ourselves to get to know each other more beforehand. And it's really fun to see how we complement each other. And I'm just thrilled to see what she's given you, how you'll see how it complements what I'll be sharing with you guys today. So one of the things that I wanted to focus in on is something that's been a really popular topic, especially this year, right? I call this year the year of disruption, and it's our specialty, Lisa and I, as professional development experts and personal development experts, to let the games begin with disruption, right? So like, this is our specialty here. So even though it can be really stressful for someone, I want you to feel rest assured, we got this, and this is where we thrive. Yeah. So I say that because part of what I'm talking about is how to build and create and know the art of bulletproof leadership. Right? And often people look at leadership as though you have to be managing or have at least one person underneath you professionally. That's simply not true, right? Because the most unique, let me rephrase that. The most authentic leadership style that you have is actually a reflection of how you treat yourself. So it starts with how you treat yourself first. Yeah. So I'm working with you guys today and sharing several tools with you, or frameworks with you, as Lisa did, on how you can lead yourself the most dynamic, powerful way this year, end of this year into next year. Yeah. So for a majority of my talk today, I'm actually going to just look at you guys because I like people and I like seeing faces. And I don't just want to give you slides because I was like, well, I'll just talk to them and like be human. And then some of the things that the visual learners out there, I'm like, hey, I'll show you a couple slides. So you're welcome for that. So here we go. If you are able to put yourself on video, I try to make this as personable as possible. No pressure at all, but just so we can see each other and have as much community as possible, would love that. We will be using the chat a little bit. So if you haven't put your name for your like box on the Zoom thing, please do. There's 3 dots at the top of your box that you can click on and then hit rename, just so we know who you are, right? Me, Lisa and I. So we're not just like, oh, the person that has iPhone or whatever it is, email or whatever. Okay, so with that, I'm going to look at leadership in 2 different ways, both from a mindset standpoint and a strategy action standpoint. Okay, and I'm first going to look at how can we build our skill sets as a leader through strategizing, right? And a big thing that people are focusing on is how to increase these 3 components: optimization, productivity, and time management. These aren't just like trendy words. They're like, no, these are important words. These are important things we're looking at here. And often what I find, and I joke and say this is adorable, is you'll go on Google and search these words and they're using them interchangeably as though they are the same thing. And they're not. So just so we're all on the same page, here's how we can distinguish the 3. Okay. And feel free to take whatever notes you want so that you can file save this and use it as a resource for yourself. Okay, so optimization, it's making the most out of the situation you are currently in, like in that moment, right? So example, if I'm driving to the grocery store and it takes 10 minutes for me to drive to the grocery store, what's the best use of my time while I'm in the car? Okay, optimization. Productivity, it's in the word production, right? So it's focused on results. When and how are you producing results? Easily, effectively, efficiently, yeah? Different than optimization. And then we look at time management. Yes, time management, it has the words time manage, but it's not just how you manage your time. It's how you manage your time so that it reflects the order of your priorities, which would imply then not just knowing your priorities, but ordering them. Okay. Now, when we look at not only how as a leader to build a strategy around these 3 components, we first have to self-assess each one. If we were to look at it, have an honest look at each one, at where we are in terms of optimization, where do you find yourself the most clear-headed and focused, right? What allowed that to happen? And then are there other moments in your schedule or day where you want to be more clear-headed? And how could you create some intentional practices to be more optimal? Yeah. Then productivity. Where are you producing results easily because it's just in your nature? And where are you producing results easily and quickly because you've taught yourself to? And then on the flip side, where are you low producing results? No judgment. It's good to know, right? And how do you want to fill that gap, right? So we're looking at not just assessing here, but then leveling it up, right? Time management. What are the order of your priorities? And I'm such a visual learner, so I look at like my Google Calendar and I'm like, okay, what's my commitment to each of these priorities? And are they being reflected on how I'm managing my time? Then you can look at delegating, not optimizing, creating processes and automating. That's the word I was thinking of, etc. Right? Now I'm giving you high level stuff like this. These 3 components alone could be like a weekend training, but high level, you're welcome. Now we're going to move on. And we're going to get into looking at this visual that I'd like Misha actually to show you. So Misha, if you can show this first slide that I have for the visual learners out there, hopefully you'll enjoy this. When you look at all 3 of these components, optimization, productivity, time management, there's actually a Venn diagram. I don't know why it's not showing on here.
This was slide 4 on the one you sent me.
Oh, next slide then. It's the bandwidth. It's called bandwidth.
Okay.
Those.
I don't have that one in here, but I can.
Well, no problem. I will just explain. I'll give you guys the visual of what it would look like, or I'll draw it on my whiteboard. I'll do that. So think of this Venn diagram where you have optimization, productivity, and time management. And as you are, do you mind muting yourself, Misha?
Some outfit, summer outfit.
Maybe. Thank you. Okay, so as you are not only assessing and leveling up all of these 3 areas, they're expanding, and the thing here right in the middle is your bandwidth. So your bandwidth expands and increases as you are not only assessing, but leveling up each area, where it doesn't allow you to, it doesn't enable you to work harder. You don't have to work harder. You don't have to work more, and you don't even have to work faster, but you can work smarter, right? So it's a framework and a tool to get clear on how can I maximize my bandwidth continually, right? And the 2, there you go, thanks, Misha. The 2 biggest leadership challenges that most people face are these, as you see for the visual learners. So the number 1 leadership challenge most people face is they drastically underestimate what they're capable of. Interesting. Looks like we're getting into mindset soon. And the second most common leadership challenge that most people face is they drastically underestimate what their teams are capable of. Huh. I wonder how we could start utilizing a mindset that would even fuel this strategy, right? Which is where we start getting into our next topic. So I'm going to give you kind of some symptoms, if you will, or ingredients that come with different types of mindsets that actually affect our ability to perform. Okay, now as I talk about this, I want you to think of like profiles here, where there's like low performers, performers, high performers, that kind of thing. Yeah, and I want to actually suggest we do all of those. So it's not about putting someone down or moralizing or judging them if they're a low performer, because I will be a low performer in some areas and a high performer in others, because though we strive to be better, we're human. And we make choices that dictate what we want to be good at. And thus we're not good at other things, right? No problem. So here's a profile of a low performer. When people are a low performer, they tend to ask themselves the question, what's the bare minimum for me to do, right? And I make a joke, like in the corporate world, HR people do not like these employees because they're doing just enough to get by so they don't get fired, right? And then when you look at performers, right, they like to be an asset. They like to be a part of something. They like to fit in, and they tend to ask themselves the question, am I doing my job? Right? If they're doing their job, they're fitting the expectation, awesome. But they don't typically like to stand out. They don't like being in the spotlight, right? They just want to perform, do it, be good, and rest assured. It's content, right? And then we have high performers. And I'm going to spend a little more time on here because this is my specialty. I want you guys to be thinking about, as I give you this profile, if you know anyone who might be in this profile, or if you yourself are. Yeah. So as you look at a high performer, they tend to like to go real fast. In fact, they thrive going fast. They think fast, they strategize fast, they might even talk fast. Yeah. They know how to get shit done. Okay. So they're like that type. Yeah. They're boom, boom, boom. Right. And they've almost like set this standard on themselves, right? It's not about, they don't just fill the expectations that they might have in their role, but they set a higher bar. Yeah. Now what comes with that is they tend to be busy. They find themselves busy, overwhelmed quite often, yet bored at the same time. Interesting. Oh, Misha, you can actually take the slide down. Thank you. And we're back. Hi. So they find themselves busy, overwhelmed, yet bored at the same time, which is an interesting ingredients together, right? Now, when they're looking at their idea of success and failure, think of it as like a spectrum. We have success on one side, failure on the other, and they're like, oh no, I got to be over here to success. It is unacceptable to be a failure. I see some heads nodding. Yeah, like it's like, this isn't acceptable. Go way the F over here to success because this isn't good to be at failure, right? They avoid it, right? Cool. And then we look at what comes with that. There's this pressure, right? With the expectations and this idea, I have to get over here to success. So they sometimes will feel guilt, anxiety, stress, and that almost feels like they're normal. Like they might not even realize they're feeling it that often. Does anyone relate to that? Yeah. Yeah. I call myself a recovering perfectionist because I used to be a high performer, like on crack, right? Not literally, metaphorically speaking. Okay, so so one thing that high performers tend to ask themselves is, am I the best? They like being the best, and they like going and finding the facts and data that they are, right? Which you can usually find. Now, what's interesting about high performers is I actually worked with a team of coaches from EPIC, which Executive Performance Institute for Coaching. And we were working with a team at Google. And what do you suppose the people at Google are? What profile? They're like freaking up there, right? They're high performers. And so they were saying, well, if we have all these high performers, are they limiting themselves? And if so, how? And how could we create something more than a high performer? And it got real creative and real interesting. What we found that with this profile that people can have is they create this psychological cycle with themselves where they tend to, like I said earlier, find themselves busy and overwhelmed. And so what happens is they start to continue to feel busy and overwhelmed or feel overwhelmed all the time. Check this out, because if they didn't, it would suggest that they are capable of doing more, which would then suggest they are not a high performer. Interesting. And humans, we do these patterns and cycles all the time and we don't even realize we're doing it, but we're creating a blind spot and a cap on ourselves. So that's where we come in, right? And so we created a profile called Epic Performers, where epic performers transform and reinvent what's possible, right? So the profile of what an epic performer would be is in terms of their pace, it's not linear because they know it's important to slow down, enjoy slowing down, and then even slow down to speed up. Yeah. Think of like the altitude metaphor. For the people who are willing to go higher than no one's ever gone before, they know it's important to keep their oxygen mask on. So rather than having this pressure and guilt or anxiety, they're curious. What am I going to learn today? What am I going to learn this week? They're determined, right? And whenever they look at success and failure, there isn't a spectrum. They actually see both equally because they know and love actually both equally because they know in order to get to success as effectively and as efficiently as possible, it's through failure. So how could we learn to enjoy failure just as much as we enjoy success? One of the reasons why Sarah Blakely is my hero is because every day and every week when she was a kid, she would come up to her father and say, guess what I messed up on today? And like stepped out, got out of my comfort zone and was willing to get messy. Right? So there's this way we can relate to failure and success that actually doesn't inhibit us. It instigates more opportunity. They tend to be really self-compassionate and forgiving to themselves, these epic performers, right? And then the question that they tend to ask themselves is very different. So I want to really point this out. They're not asking what's the bare minimum. They're not asking, am I doing my best? Or am I doing my job? Excuse me. And they're not asking, am I the best? All of those are finite questions with finite answers that you can go and easily figure that out. Epic performers ask themselves a very different question that has an infinite amount of answers every time you ask it, which is the point because they're ever evolving and not putting a cap on themselves. They're asking, what am I capable of? It's a very different question. Though they are proud and happy with what they've accomplished, they're more interested in what they're going to accomplish. They're curious, they're eager, they're determined. They love it. There's a different fire going on for them, where they're motivating themselves through love, where the energy goes up rather than fear, right? Now, when we're looking at this mindset and how to build resourcefulness as a leader, can I actually just check how much more time do I have, Sarah? If you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, no problem. About, I don't know, 10 more minutes or so.
Great. Just want to check. Thank you. And if it slows down and I get cut off and I don't realize it, feel free to let me know. Forgot to ask about that earlier. Okay, so when we're looking at the qualities of what makes an powerful, dynamic leader or inspiring leader, I actually want to share, I'm a research junkie, and I won't go to town about history and bore you to tears, but I do want to share, there was a very impressive survey that happened a few years ago that was really impactful in the professional development world industry. And that was done by Bain and Company. And what they did was they actually surveyed thousands of employees and leaders in companies to figure out what were the top qualities that they felt made an inspiring leader, specifically an inspiring leader, right? And what they took all these disciplines of like sociology, psychology, neuroscience, behavior management, like all these different disciplines, and put these questions together. And they found that 33 things stood out on what people gravitate towards in the leaders that they have in their life. Now, I will not share all 33 qualities, but what they took from those 33 qualities is they compartmentalized them into 4 categories. All right. And those 4 categories are, they know how to develop inner resources. So they listen and develop themselves internally to serve externally, right? Which is a lot of what Lisa and I work with our clients on. And they know how to set the tone, vision, and culture for themselves and the people around them, right? Third, they actually know how to show up and lead themselves and others forward, right? And the 4th thing is they have a phenomenal ability to connect with people. So there's like emotional intelligence on fire, right? If you haven't heard of emotional intelligence or know much about it, you can look up a brief thing on it. But the thing that I found so interesting from this article is they then took it one step further and they said, well, what's the foundation of all 4 of these? How are they all synergistic? And they came up with the word centeredness. And for the purposes of like, I heard that word and I'm like, yeah, what does that mean? Right? Like that could be really not clear. So I'll give you an actual definition here. They coined and defined centeredness as a state of greater mindfulness achieved by engaging all parts of the mind to be fully present. And it's one's ability to stay level-headed, cope with stress, and empathize with others to listen more deeply. Yeah. So with that in mind, I'm going to pose a question and I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to 45 seconds to think about this, right? And I invite you to consider thinking about this more after our time today for yourself. This is like a slow down, speed up thing. Yeah. Is what's the ideal vision of who you want to be as a leader? What character qualities do you want to emulate? The qualities of your character, not like, oh, I would go and do this and this and this. Not what you want to do. Who would you want to be? Right? And think of even the exercise Lisa gave you earlier around the superheroes. Who are they? You see something in them, which means you already have it in you. We just got to draw it out. Right? Okay, so with that, you get clear on like what's the ideal epitome of a leader you'd want to become. And then we look at the resourcefulness of how to create this artistic, if you will, resourcefulness as a leader. So we talked about how to build leadership as a mindset and strategy, but how can we be resourceful with what's around us now to even increase our leadership there? And that's where I love talking about this because I find most professional experts don't. So I hope this is new and helpful. So there's two other, we've talked about leadership as one. There's 2 other components here. Leadership is one, fellowship is another. Okay, and fellowship, we might have heard that term before. That comes from the word fellow, right? So we want to be able to look at what friendly or companion relationships do you have? And it doesn't have to be one-on-one, it can even be community, yeah? The purpose of fellowship is actually to provide support to you. So what areas do you have fellowship that actually build you up and feed you. Not just the internal resource, but what external resource do you have in fellowship to build you up as a person and leader? Then we have this other third component. And if you'd like to write any of this down, you're welcome to. I'm giving you like food for thought on fire. Yeah. and even just to kick this around, let's use the chat for this. What types of fellowship do you guys feel you have currently? TTMA, yes, gender, absolutely. We're right here. Way to be, absolutely. Rotary Club, yep. TTMA, TTRA, church, workout group, great, Leah. The friends in the industry, yep. Family, friends, wife, excellent, Diana. Mentors, yep. It is tough in the lockdown, Jane. I totally get that. But there's, yep, church, coworkers, friends, close friends, Dan, yep, associations, neighbors, your spouse. It's great, you guys. OC Speakers Network, Lisa, hiking group, yeah, wonderful. So taking note, just to be aware, right? Especially with the disruption, as I say, that's gone on, and we've had a little more isolation. It's like, how can we feed that and feed them, those fellowships, and it feeds us, right? Yeah, I see head nodding. This third component, and I find this to be something that, again, it gets missed, like people don't consider it, is not fellowship, not leadership, but fellowship. Okay? Fellowship is quite different than the other two, because the power of following and boosting up or advocating people who are in alignment to what you care about and where you're going, and the things that are in alignment to your vision and your goals, has meaning and has impact, not just for you, but for the people around you. So who do you know that you look up to, or that's on the same train as you in whatever way, where they're there, and by you saying, hey, I'm following them, it actually not just builds authority in other people's eyes for where you're going, but it helps boost these in, like an influencer that can actually have a greater ripple effect of positive impact, right? So when you look at building this resourcefulness in your own leadership, there's these internal resources, and then there's these external resources of this beautiful reciprocation where humans actually are just meant to connect with each other. So if we connect with each other in intentional ways through these fellowship and fellowship, and then learn to step into our leadership in ways we haven't, magic starts to happen, actually. And I don't even say that to be cheesy. It's evidence proven, not just from my clients and the companies I've worked with, but from the clients my teams in Epic have done. Where we're up to creating Epic coaches to create epic results and epic performers in our clients. So with that, exactly, Diana, we're not in competition with each other. It's so important to raise each other up. Absolutely. So with that, I'm going to wrap up and give you one last slide. So Misha, if you could just show that second slide that I sent you, I want to give you guys some things to consider. It's important to get clear on what your needs are and what you want to have, but I want you to consider, what are you worth having? That's a very different question, right? And with that answer, what's that vision of your success? That compelling, I love that you use that word, Lisa, that compelling vision. It's all about what you want, what you desire, what moves you forward, really. Where a year from now, you could at the blink of the eye go, I have these results. If someone would have told me I had these results, I would have said, you're crazy. What's that, right? And then my call to action here is, what are 3 simple action steps that you can take to dial up your leadership style? Now, Lisa and I have given you a lot of little tools and frameworks to work with, right? And even just coming up with 3 steps to start, just so you can start to implement and apply and experiment and see what happens. Is it around productivity? Is it around building a mindset as an epic performer in one way? Okay, which way? Is it in fellowship? Is it whatever it is, right? You got a lot of goodies here to play with. What is that? And not just what it is, but how do you want to do that? And to be really specific with yourself, right? We say in coaching, we actually track our own integrity. And integrity is defined as, are you doing what you say you're going to do? And if you can track that and see your discipline to it, you actually can see what's working and not working, like data, and then increase it. Right? So what, and then another thing in terms of resourcefulness, I'll speak for myself, but I'm sure Lisa is the same, just from what I've gotten to know about her, is what areas in your life, professional life, personal life, do you want support to ensure your success? Reach out to us. You guys, we are here for you and advocating for you. So use us. I say in my coaching to my clients and even people who are considering coaching, healthy people know how to ask for what they want. So do not be afraid to advocate for what you want, right? Lisa and I have our contact information that we will send to you. I know she did it earlier in the chat, and I'll just send mine as well. But with that, I just want to say thank you. Thank you. This has been such a joy and pleasure to be here to talk with you guys, share some of the skills and tool sets that I have, and see how Lisa and I work together. And I think we're going to get into our Q&A.
Thank you, Jenna. Wow. I don't know about everybody here. That resonated so deep with me, and all of you guys who know me probably know why that resonated so deep. We do have some time for Q&A. So if you want to submit your questions through chat, we'll facilitate Q&A. These can be questions for Lisa or Jenna. We'll see if any questions come through. And I did put it up earlier, but we will be sending out this presentation to everybody who attended. So if it's something that you want to journey through again and work through on your own time, you know, that you guys will have the time to do that. No questions? Questions? I see comments. Amazing. Thank you so much. You can put comments too if you want. I guess I'll leave another minute or so to throw in a question. Okay. Oh, that's a question for me. That's private, so I'm not going to read that one. Or I don't know, maybe that is a question that Lauren wanted me to reach out and say out loud.
I mean, I have an idea. If you guys want to like be creative, if there aren't any questions, I have an idea of how we can still bring you guys value with the few minutes we have left.
Yeah, as long as it's going to just take a few minutes, that's perfect, because we have a few things just to wrap up and be respectful of everybody's time. But sure. So, Diana did have a question, though. I don't know if you want to answer that one. It says, how do you suggest to manage up some of these awesome practices? And I don't know if that's for both Lisa and Jenna, if you guys want to take a moment.
Probably, I mean, one thing you could do that would be easy is say, I attended this great event and I want to share the recording with you.
There you go.
Could I lead the team in something like this? Could I take the practices that I learned and share that with the team? That would be one idea.
When I think of the word manage, I think of creating some intentionality. And so like, even if it's slowing down and it might seem silly, but even if it's slowing down and writing out, either writing to yourself or I don't know, on your computer somewhere, if it's digital, like I'm going to take 5 minutes to breathe today, right? Or I'm going to take some time to figure out where I need to optimize, or like slow the F down. We go so fast, right? And slowing down to create intentional practices and then tracking them just to see if they work and to see if you do it, right? And then if it didn't work, experiment another thing, like do an experiment too, right? So that would be what I would say to that.
Thank you. We'll have one more at least. So Lauren had asked, are you suggesting a personal action plan on how to dial up leadership? Are there some more specifics you work with? I don't know if one of you guys want to answer or both.
Okay, I'll start. So so one of the things with coaching, and I know Lisa is the same way, is, we're not going to tell you what to do. That's actually a consultant's job. What we do that we find actually is tremendously more valuable is we help our clients figure out how they can learn what's best for them. It's very different, right? And it allows you to be a leader rather than a follow what I say, a follower, right?
Agreed.
And so we have these tools and questions to pose to you for you to get curious on what in your gut sounds like it could be good for you. Right? Lisa, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, and I think this addresses a couple of the other questions, like from Wendy and Lauren, in the sense that we look at you are a system. Like, what system are you working with? Your system comprises all of the history you have from childhood to today, and what you envision for the future. What emotions are habitual for you? What actions do you typically take? What beliefs do you have that work for you, that don't work for you? What thoughts do you have that persist? How do you relate with people? That's your system. And so when we work with someone, or you go through one of our courses, it's really about getting deeper knowledge of your own system and making tweaks as needed in the moment. So like, one solution is not necessarily going to work for every single other scenario, but it's like, do you have the ability to shift in the moment? Do you have ability to notice what was going on? I mean, we've done some planning calls for this meeting even, and it's like, okay, what am I feeling right now? How can I best serve? What's coming up for me? Like, what do I know about myself? What do I know about the situation? How do I want to navigate? Those are the type of skills that can really, really set you up for success.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, ladies, so much. I think just in essence of time, we're going to stop. But again, we'll be sending this out, and you guys will have their contacts, their websites. And we just have a few more things to say, and then everybody can, say bye to each other. But thank you again, Jenna and Lisa, for all your time, your words, your thought process. This was amazing. Thank you to all of our members, guests, and first-time attendees for joining us today. We hope you all enjoyed it. It seems like you did. As you may have seen, we have been sharing our videos where we collaborated with popular tourist destinations to share what the new customer experience is like, as well as new marketing strategies these businesses have had to utilize to pivot during these times. Available now is our video with the Catamaran Resort Hotel and Spa and the Aquarium of the Pacific, and both can be found on our Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn social media channels. Keep an eye out for our last video featuring Lunetta, a restaurant in Santa Monica. And thank you to our board members, Trevor and Elizabeth and Diana, who have been working behind the scenes on all of this. I'm also very excited to announce that we will be hosting a holiday virtual mixer. This will take place on Wednesday, December 9th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. And it's going to be a fun evening, not to be missed. So hopefully you guys can carve out time to join us for this one. Keep an eye out, an invitation will be coming soon. With Thanksgiving being celebrated next week, I would like to end with a quote. Gratitude turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos into order, confusion into clarity. It makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. As always, if you have any additional questions or comments at any time, please feel free to reach out to us, visit our website. You can email myself or Misha. And please, again, feel free to reach out to our lovely presenters, Lisa and Jenna. I hope you all enjoy the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday and the next few weeks until hopefully we see you again in December. And that's all. So I don't know, Misha, if you want to end the presentation, everybody can turn on their cameras and their voices and say goodbye and thank you.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Really amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was fantastic.
Super
Great
great.
job.
Yep. Great, great.
Thank you. And it was nice seeing everybody.
Thank you again, ladies.
My daughter's gonna video bomb now because she came out of the dungeon that she's been locked in. Can bring out your cats, your dogs, your. Sure, you can grab the dog. Oh,
She's
that
so
was
excited. She's like, I'm gonna get my dog.
Dee, where are your animals?
Then I was just looking and I'm like, where'd they all
Aw,
Oh my gosh, I added a fish tank to my office too.
yay.
It's awesome.